Are you going to be ready to open us in prayer?
Let me move this.
I will be.
I'll call us for you in a second.
Gosh, no. that'd be bad discernment.
Good, we're going.
All right, now everything you're saying is being recorded.
Got it. Yikes.
So say some nice things about Nancy.
Always appropriate.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Now you're fine. Now you're not. Maybe just a little.
Don't worry, I'm not going to do most of the talking. She is. She's okay in it, right? Is she okay in it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Was she coming forward to the stand?
Come forward to the stage.
If you do,
She's still okay.
I'm still okay. I'm shorter than you.
You are. Yeah, don't get any taller. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 9:15 and we have a lot of material to cover. So you all did an amazing job getting all of your snacks and drinks in such a timely manner. Let's give you a round of applause. In just a moment, I'm going to invite the bishop to come and open us with prayer. Let me just start by saying thank you for being here in this gathering. There's a lot of information, and this is your church. And I love, and I always have, the amount of ownership that the people of Holy Trinity have for their church. And that is quite a gift. The other thing I wanted to do before we started with prayer is I wanted to thank Vicki and her team and the hospitality folks for setting all this up and hard to do. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more muffins, so once we're done talking, you can get more. Bishop, can you come and open us in prayer?
I want to say thanks to Father Clay, to all of you for your warm hospitality this morning. And I do want to say that we, among Clay's many gifts in terms of administration and leading, is he's a great collaborator with the larger diocese. And we have been informed and prayer partners at every step. And I want you to know that I share all the enthusiasm that you have for what the Spirit is doing here at Holy Trinity. And I want you to know that the diocese will stand behind you in every way that we can as you move on.
We're glad you're still here.
Thank you,
Yes,
John. Thank
amen.
you. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Gracious God, thanks for your steady, enduring, and life-giving presence in this place. Help it to be true that whenever we gather together here in this company of saints, that we draw closer to one another and closer to you. Open the hearts and the minds of this parish church to the call of the Spirit on their lives and in this moment. Help them to discern what is right and true, to follow after Jesus in a courageous and life-giving way. We pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop. Hopefully when you came in, you received one of these. This is going to be the material that we'll be going over, plus you'll be able to see it up here on the slide. There may be times when Liz needs to get into a little more detail. What you'll also notice is that inside there is a yellow piece of paper that looks like this. And on the top of it, it says Master Plan Feedback Form. And the reason is because we are not presenting a final master plan. What we are doing is we're saying, all right, here's stage one of the work, and you all need to now have an opportunity to speak into that. So this is about giving you information and then letting you go off and digest that over the next couple weeks. And there are so many ways to actually give us that feedback. And you'll see those in the bulletin, but this is an easy way. You can fill this out whenever you want to. You can bring it back anytime, drop that in the basket that's in the narthex, or you can just go to the website. And right there on the website, there says feedback. Click on that, and there's a form. You just fill it out, boom, hit send, and off it goes. So that's what all of this is. Now, I needed to thank not just the bishop and you for being here and the hospitality team. I needed to thank the master planning team as well. These people have been very hard at work over the last couple months. I'm going to invite them to stand. So, master planning team, would you please stand? Let's give them a round of applause. I have been here for 4 years. And over the course of the 4 years, we've seen a lot of change and growth. We've seen a lot of energy, a lot of children, a lot of families, a lot of excitement. And I love being in this place. Also, over that 4 years, what I have seen is a lot of repairs that needed to happen with HVAC and a roof that still leaks, and people that have said it'd be great to have a playground, and people that said, could we do something with the west entrance, and people who've said, could we do something in these rooms? And what I hear is there's a lot of sort of pent-up desire to make our church stronger, make our church more effective in reaching into our community. And what I realized is that if we're going to really do that well, it's not going to be me figuring that out. It's going to be us figuring out what we as a church want to do. That's when we began the master plan. It was specifically to get people together with expertise like Liz that would actually help us do this. So that's one of the reasons we have started the master plan. Another reason that we started the master plan is because we are seeing more and more kids come, more families come, and we thought we have got to better use our space to be able to reach them. So just for the future, it needs to be that way, and for generations still to come. The other reason we started the master plan is because we realized we needed to have fresh eyes. Were you going to talk about this picture?
You go ahead, or either way.
All right, I'm going to do that because it's in the news. We put this picture right on here. You know this picture, most of you, because you are regular attenders here. You know that there's 3 beautiful trees there, and that somewhere behind there, there's a door that you can come in, or you just go somewhere else. But we had fresh eyes looking at it. We invited the architects to come. They couldn't figure it out how to get in. Seriously, they drove down here, and they thought, wait a second, that isn't it. They drove back there, and when we looked at it with fresh eyes, what we realized is that people in our community know there's a church there, but there's no clear way of actually identifying to them, where do you even come in? And I feel like I've been here 4 years, it never occurred to me. But when we have fresh eyes, we start to see that. And so really what you're going to see in a lot of this is fresh eyes, looking at space we love, and it's not bad space, it's just fresh eyes, looking at it from the perspective of being a first-time visitor, and wondering if this could possibly be the place where I could find a home for me, and my kids, and my grandkids. So that's kind of what, now it's interesting, we put into our plan that we're going to do something about that. Did anybody notice something different? I didn't do that. That is not me. Swear to God. That is just the beginning of a change process. And God pushed over the first domino. So I think it could mean that God has a plan. Now, Liz Babbitt started here at Holy Trinity almost 2 years ago. Liz is Helen Girdle's daughter. Many of you know Helen, a priest in our diocese, and she's been here a long time too. And what I realized is that we needed somebody who was really good at this. I asked Liz to lead the master planning team. And as she did, she also happened to notice that she is a principal architect in Sinclair Hilly, and they're the ones who did our office addition anyway. And so we thought they're probably the people that we should use. And so we have the gift of having Liz as our master planning committee member, and also the person at the office telling those people to get to work. And so Liz is going to share all of this. Now, it could go a little fast. We may have some questions at the end, but we'll try to take some. But mostly, it's just going to be an opportunity for us to see. And then we can pray and think about it. So, and I'm recording it for all of our folks that are not here. And Jill, you were going to take a picture up here? Yep, good. So if she takes a picture of you, it's simply so I'll know who hasn't been able to come, so I can be sure to reach out to them and take this information out to them. So that's why she's doing that. Okay, Liz.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here.
Us too.
We've had such a fun summer working with the master planning team to talk about the church and kind of reimagine some different areas of the church, figure out what we need to do to bring even more people into this wonderful place. Our engineering partners are Engineering Technologies, and then we got a great team at Sinclair Hilly who's been working hard all summer. So when we started the process, we realized we needed to do two things. We needed to look at the whole facility from a master planning standpoint, but we did a feasibility study of the mechanical system, the electrical service, how's our water service, how are codes, are we meeting codes? All those kinds of things. So we did a pretty thorough review of all of that in conjunction with the master planning process. The idea behind that is so that when we do start on different aspects of any remodeling that we do, we know that there are other areas of the facility that potentially need to be repaired or upgraded. And so we do that all together. We don't do part of it and then realize, oh, wait a minute, we should have addressed that over here. So we created kind of an overall plan to address the needs of the facility. So we're gonna walk through that with you this morning. As Clay said, you have a handout. Everything I'm showing up here, you've got in your hands. So if you wanna follow along, and we listed at the bottom of each sheet, we listed all the key points of the master plan process. So there were 5 areas we addressed. Children's ministry is a big one, and so we've got some ideas for how to better serve children's ministry. West entrance, as Clay already mentioned, West entrance was a big one. The parish hall, the hall that we're in right now, the narthex, and then some maintenance issues that I think everybody's somewhat aware of that we need to address. So let's get into the master plan here. So we have 2 phases of master plan, and the first phase is some things that are kind of low-hanging fruit that we can address pretty quickly. Some of them have little to no cost at all. And so phase 1, this plan in front of you right here, A Street is at the top, so we're here in the parish hall, right here. And so what we've got overlisted at the side, we've got the different aspects of what we're going to be doing. But the first one, related to children's ministry, we're proposing building a new playground. We talked about several different areas on the site, and the one that seemed to be the most popular was putting it out here on the west side. So here's our entry into the church, here's the drive lane in, and then there's the parking down, here's the south entrance. So putting the playground in this area right here, that's just to the west of the sanctuary. And then as we talked a little bit before, west entrance, this initial phase, remove bushes and trees, which kind of already started. And then also adding some signage to that entrance so that people know, not necessarily permanent signage at this point, because we do have our existing sign that's out on A Street, but doing some more temporary signage that just says, hey, this is where you come in. Welcome, please come in. From a Narthex Refresh standpoint, what we'd like to do is create kind of a coffee house feel of a space in our existing narthex, just right down here. So we're going to be adding some tables. We're going to be putting coffee up in this corner right here where the nook is right now, putting a coffee station out there so that it's much more you come out of the sanctuary and into the narthex, some comfortable seating, some smaller tables, maybe even extending it down the hallway here with some couches and things like that, just to give a variety of seating and a variety of ways for fellowship, for people to gather and talk. In addition, what we'd like to do is encourage people to use our wonderful courtyard. I don't know if many of you have been out there, but it's really a wonderful space. And so we'd like to encourage people to use that. And one of the ways is we'd like to open up, there's a window right on the south wall of the narthex. We'd like to open that up and put a pair of French doors there. So it's very inviting, bring people in there into the courtyard, adding some tables and things like that. And then also potentially creating a patio on the north. We would have some kind of a barrier, low wall barrier or something from A Street, but create some kind of a patio out there, again, to encourage people to gather. We have, if you all remember, this was the main entrance on the north here, and there's a vestibule, so it's 2 sets of doors we're proposing removing the inside set of doors and the wall, maybe even the ceiling space to really open that space up quite a bit. We don't need both doors, both the west and the east doors for exiting from a code standpoint. So we could even just either remove the east set of doors or we could just lock them. And then people just come in and out of that west door. And that allows more space for mingling at the coffee station. Let's see, where else? And then parish refresh. So this room. So what we'd like to do in here, we'd like to do some new painting, new flooring. We've got some lighting in here. We need to upgrade some of the lighting, maybe even just light bulbs. And then removing the basketball hoops, since that's not really something that we use anymore. And then in the sanctuary, upgrade the lighting. So it's very kind of a dark feeling in there. So we'd like to look at ways to really brighten it up, lighten it up, kind of raise the level of energy in there for services. So that is phase one of the main level. So now let's switch to phase two. This is the one that will have more of a financial impact, and we'll be working on cost. After we get your feedback and we really have a clear direction on where we want to go, then we'll be talking with some local contractors and we'll get a cost together and then a whole plan for the phasing and timing and all those kinds of things. So west entrance, what we're proposing is removing the existing addition that's on the building right now. It's just mainly the entrance, and then there's the little coat closet off to the side. We would be removing that, and we'd be creating a large greeting space so that when you come into the church, there's double doors. It's further to the west. There's double doors. You would come in and you come into a greeting space. So you get a chance to speak with people and talk and everything before you go into the sanctuary. We'd have space for coats, probably an information desk, whether there's somebody there or not. Maybe it's just a small area with information and things as you're coming into the church. We have about a 4-foot rise in elevation from the curb to the door. So the way we're planning to navigate that, we'd like to create some kind of a nice, more kind of grand stairway up onto this to get the 4 feet up off the ground. And so we're proposing a couple of steps up, and then a little landing area, and then a few more steps. We will have a ramp to the north that will integrate nicely into the landscaping, and we're proposing also putting the new sign here. So typically, if you think about going up to a building, wherever you see the sign, that's usually where the door is. Our sign is clear back here. So that's confusing to people, as Clay mentioned, when I brought our team over. Obviously, I knew where the door was, but I was just testing everybody and said, well, where do you think it go in? And everybody was like, well, I think no, it's not there. So part of it is that sign is there and is signaling entry to people. We need to move that to the west so that people know where to get in. So we're also proposing doing some exterior accent lighting, both to the church. We have this beautiful steeple. We need to light that. We need to have it so that people see us. They're not looking across the street when they're driving down, or looking straight ahead when you're driving down A Street. We need them to look and notice our beautiful church. In terms of the narthex, this is where we're kind of going. We're really expanding this space. What we're proposing is moving the nursery to where the children's chapel space is right now, to the south. And then essentially opening up that whole area. These are bearing walls, so we wouldn't be a complete opening, but we would add some columns and some beams, and we'd be able to open that up. And so coffee would be in this area right here. There's a sink in the nursery right now. We'd utilize that water for the water that we need for the coffee, and really open it up so that our coffee house feel is a much larger space for everyone. Let's see, and then also then we would be updating the finishes at that point as well. At that point, once we start moving walls, you have issues with flooring and things that we need to address. So we'll be working on that. In terms of the parish hall and the kitchen, air conditioning. Anybody feeling it yet? Yeah, that's one that we're going to be adding. Also, these exterior windows are very old, and they let a lot of hot air in and they let a lot of cold air in. So we'd like to update those to be more energy efficient windows. And then also remodeling our kitchen. We're imagining if you park on the east side of the church, I don't know if you've been out there and actually just stood there and looked at it. It's very unassuming. It's, you kind of wonder, do I go in there? Is this for delivery? What do I do with this entry? We need to do something to make that more welcoming to people, because there's great parking over here. There's a little bit of a steep walk up, but there's great parking over here, and we need to create a more welcoming entrance, secondary entrance on this west side. So what we're proposing is enlarging that hallway there, taking part of the kitchen, and then enlarging the entry on this side, and then updating the kitchen a little bit. I think there is a roll down wall or a roll down shutter right now that's manual, and I think really hard to move up and down. So we'd like to look at doing an electric one. Push a button, really nice. So that will kind of help to make that a little more attractive when there's something going on in here and we don't need the kitchen. Let's see, and then, yeah, okay, sorry, I covered all those things. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, in the sanctuary, we're going to be upgrading the audio-visual and some of the interior finishes in the sanctuary. And then also, one idea is to create a chapel space up at the front here. We would not be moving the organ or anything like that, but potentially taking out the choir area and creating a place for more intimate, smaller gatherings in the chapel. And then mechanical and maintenance, we've got some roof issues, as Clay mentioned, as many of you know, so we'll be addressing that in this whole area. So that's the main level. Lower level, so this is where children's ministry is really exciting for them. So we're going to be focusing the space downstairs specifically for children's ministry. One of the things when you go down there, I don't know how many of you have been down there lately, but you walk down and it's kind of a series of these corridors, and it can be kind of dark and just maybe not very welcoming. So what we'd like to do, again, we've got some bearing walls that we need to deal with, which means they're structural, but there's ways we can deal with them, with columns and beams, like I said. So what we'd like to do is when you come down the stairs, once you go through that door, we'd like to open this whole north area up. We'll be getting rid of the minion room. That will be taken over by children's ministry, or the children's chapel, as well as the curriculum room. So we'd create children's chapel right down here. The kids would just come right down the stairs into children's chapel. So that would be a nice check-in area, lobby space for the children's ministry. Then we've got the children's classrooms that are all in this area. And then probably the biggest thing down in the basement is creating a new entry at the south end. So there's existing windows here in the apartment. And so what we're proposing is a set of stairs from the outside that will go down to the lower level. And then you walk through a door into a corridor, redo the restrooms, expand them, make them ADA accessible, and create a new youth room in the current Fred Davies room, and then part of the apartment. And again, we have a bearing wall, so we'll create an opening, but create a nice big space for our youth that's right at the entrance. And then again, another check-in lobby. We can take out all those walls in that area and really open that up. And then in addition, we've got some mechanical upgrades that we need to do. We have some really old equipment that's nearing the end of its life, so those will need to be addressed. So let's see, and then replacing these existing windows. We have wonderful windows in the basement. They're just really old. So again, we need to replace those with more energy efficient windows. So I think that's it. That's where we are right now. So we love your feedback on the different aspects of the master plan.
So let's give her a round of applause. That was incredibly.
Was that fast?
Yeah.
I was trying to stay
You
on
did great.
task.
What I would love to do now is open up the floor, and it's not necessarily the right time for the feedback. If you want to move that room over there and stuff like that, that's what we have the feedback form. And what we're also wanting to do is to focus in on questions that might clarify what you've seen up here. That's what we're trying to do, to digest this material. Let it sit in us. I'm going to invite you to actually pray over it as well, and just let the Spirit give you insight, because we're going to do this together. So we have about 15 minutes before the next service preparation, all that stuff. So if there are questions that you have about, like, what is it again you're doing on that, or that kind of thing, then that's an opportunity to do that. Yes, Joe?
So just for clarification, you've got phase 1 and phase 2. What kind of timing are you looking at there?
Just for everybody in the video, timing on phase 1 and phase 2. What we are realizing is that some of the things have a little bit more expedience. For instance, the west entrance. I don't want the trees to fall anymore. So that clearly is something, but also space that we need for some of the ministries that we've got going. So right now we're thinking phase 1 is stuff we're going to be looking at over the next 12 months. Phase 2 is going to require us to do a capital campaign. It's probably been decades since we've done something like that. We are in an amazingly good, strong financial position. This is a debt-free congregation, which is exceptional by all means. We have a strong endowment. There have been people who have gone before us that have been contributing to their church because they want their church to be strong. We have got everything in a really good place for that. But to tackle some of these changes, like the air handler unit 1 that is older than me and still running to heat and cool the sanctuary, those kinds of things are going to require some capital for us to raise. And so that's all going to be happening like 12 months out and maybe 2 years after that. So over the course of the next 3 years, we're hoping to have made significant progress on that, but we're taking it in stages. And here's the thing. I believe it's take a step, which means we start in on phase 1 and we find out it's all a busted play and we got to go back to the drawing board. No harm, no foul. But when we do start into it, we'll have some wins under our belt. We'll see growth continuing to happen, so there's more people here to participate. And then we'll take those steps. So that's phase 1, phase 2. Good question, Jill. It's almost like you were planted. I can't plant her anywhere, so that is definitely not true. Yeah, Don?
Will the existing parish hall continue to be a multi-use space with exercise and pickleball and things like that?
It will definitely continue to be a multi-use space. Talking about the parish hall, this is incredible space, so it's going to be used hopefully even more. Now, pickleball, I don't know. We don't get a lot of pickleball players except the youth group kids. And so we'll have to negotiate with them on that. But it definitely will be used by the exercise class and stuff like that. So, yes?
I wondered about the parking. I don't know if you thought about that, but parking on both sides, is that going to stay the same?
It's about parking and the question on both sides. Yeah, definitely. Those are going to stay the same. One, I'm not always excited about putting money into parking spots unless we are just bursting at the seams. And the other is there's no real physical way to change that. We did look at the original drawing for this building actually had an elementary school drawn into the architect's renderings. And that whole east lot, I've seen the architect drawing, it's really cool. It was all classrooms. All elementary classrooms, just like they would have in the 1960s. And so they didn't do that, and I think that was a very wise choice. But they made it into parking, which is really a good choice. I think the capacity in our sanctuary might be the biggest. Bishop, is it the biggest capacity in seating in the diocese?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And basically, the architects were clear. You have enough parking to manage it by code. And so having that as parking has been really great for us. So we won't be changing that. Yes, Sue?
What about the nook? Would you dissolve it, put it in another place?
Yeah, I've been talking with Nancy about that, and she is on board with it. We will need to have a way of moving coffee there. We're trying to move it from back here in the parish hall to out there so that more people are engaging in that, especially first-time visitors and stuff like that. And so we will not be using the Nook as a Nook at that point. That's going to be coffee storage, preparation, and stuff like that. And I don't think we have another place for the Nook. So we're probably going to have a big fire sale. And so if you're going to be shopping for Christmas, make sure that you are here at Holy Trinity. Is that right, Nancy? We're on for the fire sale. Jack? Our parking lot is an income producer. The Pius students park here, and they contribute probably $20,000 a year to the budget. And we just take those and put those into ministry. So it's the way the campus should work, serving as many people as possible all the time. Yes, Sue?
Is the children's playground will be designed to be open to the community?
That is our plan. Yes. The playground is designed to be open to our community. I think, though, that when we think about playgrounds, I think about it like when I was a kid. And it had big slides and swing sets where the teenagers tried to go loop-de-loop all the way around it. Skateboard stuff, all that stuff. And we're not going to design it for teenagers. What we are going to try to do is to utilize some of the new ways they're doing playgrounds that actually utilize the terrain better, so it's safer, and it also is going to be less attractive to the 18-year-olds looking for a place to hang out. Yes, and it'll be well fenced. Safety is absolutely priority. And the neat thing about having it there is that the doors that we're talking about downstairs actually will come out and provide immediate access to the playground so that kids are able to come out and go there without ever entering the parking lot. Yes, back there, Cheryl?
If we're gonna have coffee out of the north end, will we have plumbing?
The beautiful thing about the Nook, what makes it such prime real estate, and so we had to pay Nancy double her asking price for it, is that it's on the backside of the restrooms. And so water is out there already. We're just going to need to get it into the Nook. Yeah. And that was part of having the architects do all of that. They knew the bearing walls, so the loading, and so we couldn't tear down the building to replace. They also knew a lot about the utilities and stuff, so that when we did put things places, we were constantly thinking about all the utilities that went with that, and the HVAC and all that. Pamela?
Is phase one already encumbered financially? In other words, that capital campaign you mentioned, does that have to cover both phases or?
Phase one is not already financially launched except for the tearing out of the blue spruce tree. That is.
So the campaign would need to cover both phases?
We're still looking at phase one, because when we do a capital campaign, it's not something that we're going to want to rush into. That's going to be more than 12 months away. A lot of preparation has to be done with that and stuff like that. So when we look at phase one, what we're trying to do is to look at resources that we have. For example, there's already about $11,000 that has been contributed for the playground. In fact, Marlene Perkins, like the first month I was here, I went to visit her and she said, I really wish we had a playground. And I want to use some of the memorial funds that have been given for Shep and Shane for that. And I said, well, I'm sorry I can't build a playground right now. But I promised her there would come a time where we would have enough children here that we would need to have a playground in order to be a blessing to them in our neighborhood. And so, yeah. So she's in rehab. I'm taking this video to her, but I took the drawings already. I said, Marlene, you've already been providing some resources. So I'm just looking at where there's already some. And then there might be other resources that we tap into. That's the vestry having to decide how much they want to tackle. Phase two, though, is pretty clearly going to require a campaign. And that's what the campaign can focus on, phase two. But yes, Jean.
Are there any plans for the landscaping?
Are there any plans for the landscaping? You mean like on the west entrance? There is that part of it too. When Liz talks about like landscape lighting and stuff like that, what that's going to require is people looking at the whole exterior to see what really needs to go in those places. There's some trees that we're going to pull out. I'm pretty sure that the one that's covering up the steeple will want to come out. That's a volunteer tree that's been there and it covers the steeple, so it's probably coming out. We're going to have to do something in landscaping. So yeah, there's a lot of that has to happen. On the west entrance, probably what we're going to do is pull out the bushes, the redbud tree, and we're going to sod that. Just because phase one, we are not trying to solve all the things, and you don't want to put a bunch of resources in there and then in phase two have to tear that out. So we're just going to take it in little steps, and landscaping's got to be part of it. Yeah, Nancy?
I see your design in terms of the layout of the church itself, but I'm wondering about the roof. We've had flat roofs that have leaked ever since they were put in. So will you pay any attention to our needs for non-leakage?
So the question, just for everyone, is about the roof, especially the flat roof. And if you look at the phase two, what you'll notice is that most of the whole office space where the flat roof is definitely on the list for some new roof.
Yes.
Including all the way into the sacristy, because we also have leaks there, in the bathroom, in the music office, and you should see, if you ever go into there, we've got Todd, one of our sexton type people, who took trash can lids, put them upside down, up above the ceiling with piping that runs over to the corner and down into a bucket that has to be changed every time there's a rain. And so we've got most of those leaks covered, but then a new leak pops up. So definitely we're going to need a roof, and that's one of those phase two kinds of things. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, John.
You talked about the building, and you led off that this is about ministries, and it's about really reaching more people. This is a tool. Could you add a few words around your vision, kind of what you think that explains the way you were going to touch these people?
Yeah. It's a question about the ministry. First of all, I hope you enjoy all the stock photos that are all around us. We downloaded these from the internet. Actually, these are all photos of the ministry that does happen at this church. A lot of that happens on a Sunday morning, but there's an awful lot of it that we don't usually see, which is why I hope you'll actually walk around and look at these photos. The number of children that are participating, not necessarily on Sunday morning, though that has grown, but on Parents' Night Out and on Kids Camp and in Vacation Bible School and in the Summer Youth Program. I mean, the number of kids has gone up by like 500%. So there's over 100. And then when we add in the Sudanese Sunday School, which we started, that's got like 25 to 30 kids in there. And you begin to realize that there are a lot of children we don't always see. But here's the thing, we keep saying that a lot of these kids are not yet members of Holy Trinity. And that may be kind of cool now, but it's frustrating for me. Because I'm thinking like, why are they not members of Holy Trinity? Why isn't it that I can take my Parents' Night Out kids and expect to see them on Sunday morning here in the sanctuary? And so that's part of what has gotten us thinking. One, how do we make our Sunday morning experience more children-friendly? We've talked about the possibility of having a children and young family service somewhere in the mix, where those kids actually are singing the songs that you've heard for VBS, for example. Songs that they love. They do all the motions to that. I'm thinking, isn't that what good Anglican worship is all about? It is. All the motions we as adults make with it. They need to have something for themselves as well. That's why the coffee house look, if you look at where most young people, my kids don't come to this church. And if I ever have grandkids, I'm really going to want them to come to this church or some church. And so when we talk about being a church our kids and our grandkids would love to come to, we're thinking about those families usually hang out at places that look a little bit more like a coffee house. or where there's comfortable seating, where they could even take coffee into the sanctuary for worship. As long as it's hermetically sealed and they don't sip it and it's not over 90 degrees. No, seriously, not all that stuff. Just how do we make it feel like that? So that's kind of what's driving it, because the reality is that I am never going to be here forever. None of us will. But I think about what's going to be the ministry at Holy Trinity in 10 years. And is it going to be strong and filled with people that look like us and are discovering the same Jesus as us in this place, that are going to love it as much as we do? That's what we're trying to do. I think if we do these things, in 20 years, that church is going to look back at us and our generation and think, thank God those people in 2024 actually took care of this church and handed it on even better than when they found it. So that's kind of what we're thinking, John. Thank you. Dan, you had a hand up, or you?
Yeah.
Because we just got a couple minutes.
This is the first thought when I came here because it was so stuffy or whatever you want to call it. We need some really big fans up there so you can move this air around. I mean, we have little tiny ACs. They don't do much. But if you have something that would move some air.
Yeah.
Dan, what I love is that you're thinking about how to make something happen. And that may not be the only way. You may not just need fans in here. It may be that there's another option to provide cooling in this place. Because I tell you, I have done funeral receptions where I've rolled out the big red fan and stuck that in the hallway to blow it down so we could get cooling in this space. And I'm just thinking it's a little bit awkward.
It looks like you're trying to do
It does, but we make do. That's the beauty. I mean, Canon Easton told me when I first called, she said, you know, we're really scrappy in Nebraska. And then I got here and I figured out, oh, this is what she meant. She was right. We're pretty scrappy. Yes. But we also seize an opportunity when we get it. Any other questions? We got like time for one more. Okay, let me give you next steps. On the front page of your handout, there is a QR code. And if you don't know what a QR code is, ask one of your kids or a grandkid. They will tell you. You point your phone at it, you click on it, it takes you to the website. That QR code takes you to our website, to the page that has the master plan information on it. At that location, you can download the plans. You can send the plans to anybody that you want. Maybe your kids that you've been trying to get here. Hey, look at this cool thing that we are starting to focus on you and your generation. That's great. You'll also find on there a place to hit feedback. And if you click on that feedback form, a little form pops up. It doesn't require you to email or anything. Just fill out that form and hit send. And it will come. All that gets compiled. Liz, the master planning team, and I will be pulling all that together, rolling it back into it and going, okay, this is a great idea. We need to put this on the list. And what will come out of that is going to be a better plan, because all of us were able to provide feedback into that. You can also use the form. These are going to be around the church for the next couple weeks. Grab it. There's pens. Sue's got pens somewhere. Sue? Sue's got pens. All right. Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of pens right here. So grab one. There's a basket that's marked clearly as feedback form in the narthex on that table. Drop that form in there. You can come on Wednesday. Let me say it again. You'll see it in the bulletin. On Wednesday from 4 to 6, open house, memorial room. Come and you can ask questions. You can give me information. You can email me. You can call me. You get the message, right? There's like no reason why your voice doesn't get included in all of this. And if you're thinking like, well, they'll never pay attention, or if you're thinking, well, they've already made up their minds. Liz, is that true?
No. Yeah, please share it. We want to hear it.
Yeah. It really is wide open.
Yeah.
So that's what we're asking for you to do. And by all means, again, pray. This is a huge step for us as a church. And prayer is going to be how it works. Any other questions? Bishop, I'm going to invite you to come up. You get to provide your feedback right now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You don't. That's the first time I've ever said that to a bishop. But would you bless all of this and encourage?
I will. Thanks again, and I just, again, I want to assure you that at the level of the bishop and the trustees of the diocese, we're also included and just so enthused about what God is doing in this place and so excited about collaborating as we can. So, gracious God, pour out the abundance of your blessing on the work and ministry of this parish church, and help these saints of God to discern in their hearts and their minds the precise vision that you have and the hope that you have for this parish community. Empower them to be strong and loving and wise and brave servants, and to have crystal clarity about next steps as they make their way. We know we can't fail if we put our trust in you and let you lead. And that's our prayer this day and always. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop. Let's give the bishop a round. There are more muffins back there. Help yourself.